Ladies and gentlemen, today was a huge victory for President Trump, future and former President Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. The jury instructions are favorable to Trump in the classified data trial that will be postponed until after November 5th, 2024. Every single trial, and hit subscribe. In a couple of seconds, you will hear from former President Donald Trump and future President Donald Trump. You'll hear from legal scholars talking about how Trump had a huge victory in all of his cases, especially the classified data case, which will propel him to a victory in November. Democrats are using legal strategies to go up against their direct political rival. They're doing exactly what they accused Trump of doing. They're utilizing the law in a manner against Trump that they would never utilize against Biden, and we'll talk about that, and Clinton, who mishandled classified data in an infinitely more egregious manner than Trump ever did as a former president with the power to declassify. So in a couple of seconds, you will hear, ladies and gentlemen, from scholars, from former President and future President Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel. In about 25-30 seconds, I'll explain to you what's going on. Today, the jury instructions in the classified data case, like the D.C. case, like the Georgia case, which have completely unraveled, are favorable to Trump. They're so favorable to Trump that Democrats are livid. They want to imprison this man. They cannot do so because each of the indictments were so broadly written. Hit subscribe to this channel. We'll get to the jury instructions. We'll get to the fact that every single case will be seen after November 5th, 2024, when Democrats cannot indict and imprison their direct political rival, which is what they accused Trump of doing, which he didn't do. And the only case that he might get convicted in is the hush money case, which nobody will care about. We'll get to that later also. Hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get to Biden and Trump and the differences. Today was huge, ladies and gentlemen.
Hunter says, my uncle will be here with his brother, in all caps, who would like to say hello to the chairman. He goes on, Jim's brother, if he's coming, wants to say hello. His uncle's brother. I wonder who that could be. I can't quite figure it out. Brother of Hunter's uncle, Jim, is Joe Biden. Why was Hunter so secretive about his father? I'm going to tell you why. It's because Joe Biden didn't want the American people to know he and his family were getting paid millions and millions of dollars from a company closely tied to the China.
And author of the great book, which I have in my hand, as a matter of fact, Trial of the Century, about the Scopes trial. Greg, great to see you. Thank you for being here. I thought she did a great job yesterday. And of course, a lot of Americans, if they just happen to be watching Fox and they hadn't been watching us before, they heard stuff that they never heard before. I mean, it looks a hell of a lot like evidence, the stuff that she was pointing to, despite what Jamie Raskin and others call the lack of evidence.
Oh, it is evidence. You know, evidence is testimonial or documentary. It's direct and circumstantial. And here, Nancy Mace and others were pointing to the wire transfers, the suspicious activity reports from banks, David, that show $24 million funneled through 20 shell companies controlled by Hunter Biden. Some of that cash given to Biden family members, and a large part of it came from China immediately after Hunter flew with his dad to Beijing, where both of them met with the son's new partner. There are emails and text messages where, Hunter is demanding payments by referencing his father sitting next to him, and they're issuing threats. And of course, days later, $5 million was wired to Hunter's company. And of course, the infamous deal in writing where the big guy is slated to get 10%. Two of Hunter's ex-partners have confirmed Joe Biden was the big guy. So this is arguably not just relevant evidence, it's incriminating evidence that Joe Biden was complicit in his son's corrupt influence peddling schemes.
And there's literally so much evidence now making that link that I hadn't seen that particular text that Nancy Mace was talking about before, where he said, my uncle's brother, and then the brother was every letter of that word was capitalized if the person, his business partner, lost the hint of what he was talking about. I mean, is in a court of law, that would have significance as evidence, would it not?
Oh, absolutely. It's incriminating of the other people who are referenced in the email other than Hunter Biden. And so, David, I think the question the committee wants answered is this: did Joe Biden abuse the power of his office as vice president to enrich his family?
Right.
So that's one of the elements of Biden's classified data debacle. Okay, so he was found to have mishandled classified data. And Ted Cruz and others have pointed out that Hunter's emails have classified data summarized within the emails. So that's one of the primary differences between Trump and Biden and Clinton. Trump was a president with the power to declassify. Clinton and Biden were not. And then you have others around Clinton and Biden who were able to see potentially the classified data, whether they were lawyers or for Clinton or Hunter and others. But this is actually huge today, ladies and gentlemen. The classified data issue is the following. They want to indict Trump very quick. So they want to imprison Trump very quickly. They won't be able to. Okay? It's not going to be possible. They can't imprison Trump. He was a president with the power to declassify, and the jury instructions today, how legal fight stalling could push Trump documents trial after November. U.S. judge receptive to Trump documents claim. Jack Smith destroys Kennedy's jury instructions. MSNBC, they're all upset. They're livid. They are so upset. They're furious, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason is because they're not getting what they want. They're not going to be able to imprison Trump. It ain't going to happen. We'll get to exactly why right now. But the jury instructions basically say that, well, if Trump, as president, wanted to declassify them and keep them as personal records, he could do so. So, the jury has to at least give that possibility, take that possibility into account, which destroys the special counsel case.
Analyst Greg Jarrett, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Pam, get your thoughts first on the legal aspect of all this.
Sean, the most important thing in any criminal investigation as a prosecutor is to treat all cases the same, meaning if something is similarly situated, it needs to be treated with uniformity. Clearly, we know that didn't happen here. It's already been established it didn't happen here. As you said, President Trump had the power to declassify. Joe Biden never did. Moreover, the documents that President Trump took went from the White House, the most secure place in the country, to Mar-a-Lago, one of the most secure places in the country, guarded constantly by Secret Service. Joe Biden's documents, we have no idea where they floated around for at least a year before some went to the Biden Penn Center, before some went to his house in Delaware. So, the playbook's already been written by Merrick Garland. If you want to treat them with uniformity, do the search warrant, as you said, at all the Biden residences. That's important. Interview anyone who could have touched those documents, including the Chinese who wanted keys and paid millions to Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, as you said, that was his residence. He could hit a garage door button and access those documents. So anyone who could have come near those documents needs to be interviewed.
The amount of money, Greg Jarrett, we're talking about is breathtaking. Merrick Garland sat on that news. He had this November 2nd. He did not tell the American people. That in and of itself needs to be investigated. Now we have not one, not two, but three separate locations where these top secret and classified documents were found. But the money is the most disturbing. The money to the Penn Biden Center, the overwhelming majority of it came when Biden was there. He was being paid by the university. The university then had their professors request from Merrick Garland that they drop an espionage case with China. He dropped it. I'm worried about everything I'm reading here.
Yeah, it looks like a quid pro quo, doesn't it? Or the equivalent of bribery. Joe Biden is the new Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again and again and again. 3 different locations with classified information in it. You can maybe rationalize it was inadvertent once, maybe accidental twice, 3 times. Remember, the criminal statute says that the removal and storing of classified information is a crime if it's either intentional or reckless. This now appears to be the definition of recklessness under the criminal statute. And Joe Biden is at greater risk than Donald Trump because Trump, as a former president, says he declassified the documents before he left office. Joe Biden doesn't have that defense available to him as vice president. And his defense today, I mean, look, I've been a lawyer for more than 40 years. I was a defense lawyer. I think I've heard every excuse in the book today. I heard a new one. It's the Corvette defense. Oh, it's okay to have classified documents because they're sitting next to my Corvette.
By the way,
right?
I'm showing a picture.
And a locked garage. Look.
Does that look locked
there
to
it
you?
is.
There's a picture right there.
That's not locked.
The garage doesn't look locked to me.
How many people had access to that didn't have security clearance? Well, they won't give us the visitor logs. And so, Joe Biden is at greater risk than Donald Trump here.
Yeah. And by the way, as a bad choice of Corvettes.
So the reason that I'm giving you these for educational purposes, ladies and gentlemen, is to show that you have to judge Trump in the manner that others have been judged. Number one. Number two, Trump was a president with the power to declassify. So on the first point, if Clinton has classified data on servers, and we'll get to the Honorable James Comey in a second. If Clinton has classified data on servers, and Trump is a president with the power to declassify no computer servers, how on earth are you imprisoning Trump? How does that even happen? Unless you want to utilize the law only against your political opponents, while at the same time stating that no reasonable prosecutor would indict your political side. The same thing with Biden. They said, well, Biden, he'd be viewed by a jury as a well-meaning elderly person with a bad memory. Okay, let's go to Trump really quickly. Trump talks about these trials and more in his Wisconsin. And if you look, ladies and gentlemen, he's up in Wisconsin. Trump is up in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. He's even doing well in Minnesota. He's only down by 3. So he's going to run away with it in November, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to this channel.
Has anybody noticed the weather outside? They said, sir, I don't think we're going to make it. I said, we have to. We can't disappoint Green Bay. We got to make it. There's never been such good. Look, we won in 2016. We did much better in 2028. A hell of a lot better. But there's more spirit now than at any time that we've ever seen. Because we've seen how bad they are. They're just bad. They are so bad. It's just terrible. But there's never been spirit like this. Never, never, ever. Probably for anyone. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be back in Wisconsin with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are. You built this country. You can see we have an empty podium right here to my right. You know what that is? That's with Joe Biden. I'm trying to get him to debate. I'm calling on Crooked Joe to debate anytime, any place. We'll do it any way you want, Joe. So that we can discuss in a friendly manner the real problems of our country, of which there are many, instead of trying to have corrupt prosecutors fight your battles for you. That's no good. You've got all these corrupt prosecutors, deranged Jack Smith, all of them. These are deranged people. Let's debate outside, Joe. Let's go have a good, solid, friendly debate just to figure where our country's going, because our country's going to hell. and we're not going to let it happen. You know, the most important day in the history of our country will be November 5th this year. Before going further, let me add that this is primary night, so get out of here soon. I'll finish this thing real quick so you can go out and vote. Go out and vote. We don't have much of a primary, I must say, but there are a couple of things that you have to vote on. And I appreciate your support. We've had tremendous support all over. I mean, honestly, we won Iowa, we won New Hampshire. In records, all records. Nevada, we won. How about South Carolina? We won in records. We won against the governor there. We won in records, a record number. Every place we won in records. So when you're finished, do I have your word you're going to go out and vote? If you're watching at home and you haven't voted, go vote, go get out there. A lot of television back. That's a lot of television. Fake news. Go vote. Make sure you vote yes on ballot questions 1 and 2. You know what that is? That's ban Zuckerbucks. Ban Zuckerbucks. They put up money. They come out with these ballot boxes. One guy gets 3,000 votes a day. When Christians put it out, nobody has ever seen it. Let's call it Christian.
Hello, I'm Martin.
Violations was charged with savagely murdering.
That the video started, the audio on that isn't working out right now, but he does talk about the cases. He talks about the cases in each one of the speeches that he makes. And ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolutely huge victory today. So the documents case, he calls it the phony documents case. The classified data issue is the following. They want to go after Trump because they've actually committed crimes in terms of classified data. They've not only mishandled classified data, they managed to, and you'll hear from James Comey, they managed to actually transfer classified data onto computer servers, which is impossible to do. Okay? You compare what the Honorable James Comey is about to tell you right now to what Trump is what they're trying to imprison Trump for. Okay? And it's night and day. Trump is a president with the power to declassify. He's protected under the Presidential Records Act. He's able to bring to his residence personal documents, just like Bill Clinton was. Okay? And others, every president has brought documents from his presidency. But with Trump, they keep saying, what's Trump so unique? Yeah, the only unique thing about Trump is that Democrats have actually broken norms and traditions trying to ruin the man. It hasn't worked. There's too much legal precedent. Supreme Court precedent. We'll get to the Supreme Court also. That's a huge immunity victory this month, just waiting to take place. We'll talk about that later this month. It will be huge. Okay, they'll give him that immunity victory. Definitely postponing the special counsel trial. What takes place is when Trump is president, he has the power to do away with the special counsel. So he can do away with the special counsel. And he's a president not only with the power to declassify, but he can actually dissolve and do away with the special counsel. So that is absolutely huge. There's no more special counsel. There's no more special counsel with when Trump becomes president again. So all of those cases just evaporate. They completely dissolve into nothingness, which is what should have taken place in the beginning. Now, like I said, he might get indicted, or he might get convicted. He might get convicted in New York. Okay, he might, but Actually, this is an important one right here.
Have it. The chairman, Jim Jordan, has adjourned. Let's bring back our panel, Jonathan Turley, Jason Chaffetz, and Andy McCarthy. Thanks to all of you for standing by through this hearing. I mean, it started about 10 o'clock this morning. Just a brief break in between, but it has concluded. Andy, your top line thoughts as it has wrapped.
Well, I just have to say that last bit by her, I thought was the weakest testimony he provided all day. I thought he was a very strong witness. But the idea that, like, Biden could know that he was illegally retaining classified information and then forget about it, and that is somehow exculpatory when at the time that he knew he was doing it, and he was guilty of doing it. So that made very little sense to me.
All right, so not legally, Jason, but politically, what's the upshot of all of this? Because it's not like Robert Hur is going to turn around and say, oh, you know what, I am going to file charges. There's nothing legislatively that's bound to come out of this. So what is politically the upshot?
I think the strongest point for the Republicans that was illuminated by Jim Jordan and others was the motivation that Joe Biden may have had, that he had this lucrative $8 million deal and that he wanted to get and impress this ghostwriter. And at one point, according to the audio, which we haven't heard but was talked about, is this idea that, hey, you know, I've got this classified information, be careful. I think that goes to motive, it goes to intent, it goes to the thought process that was going through Joe Biden's head. And I thought when Jim Jordan did that line of questioning, a little bit later into the hearing, that was perhaps the most compelling piece that was illuminated in a way that hadn't had a light shed on it and given the emphasis that it needed.
Jonathan, what struck you in this last half hour of the hearing?
Well, I think that overall, the weight of the evidence in favor of charging was substantial. I think it explains why he had to emphasize the president's lack of memory and how he might appeal to a jury, because the evidence was not supportive of the president. I think that what was particularly damning in Hur's testimony is his constant reference to facts where the president acknowledged he knew he had classified evidence, that he did the same conduct going back 40 years. And it does leave you with this question of why he then gets this level of deference. But I think it leaves the other obvious question, and that is, why is the Department of Justice prosecuting Trump on the classification questions as opposed to the obstruction questions? That's what the Democrats kept on coming back to, but Trump obstructed. Well, yeah, I mean, you can prosecute on obstruction, but how you can reconcile these two cases, and one being prosecuted and the other not, I'm afraid is beyond me. The evidence seems very strong in terms of Joe Biden willfully retaining and, quite frankly, knowing that he did so.
Well, there's a lot to chew.
So the Robert Hur special counsel proved that Biden did mishandle classified data. The reason the special counsel didn't recommend indictments is they said he was elderly and he didn't have the memory or the cognitive skills to stand trial, or that jurors would say that he was an elderly nice man who didn't have the memory, and he was well-meaning. Okay, so both the special counsel here with Biden and the Honorable James Comey said, gosh, no reasonable prosecutor would indict. Well, they found unreasonable prosecutors with Trump. When Democrats don't want to indict Democrats, they then say, well, let's get into the mindset of a potential prosecutor. With Trump, it's only suspicion. They just think the worst of him, and they don't give the same benefit of the doubt, which shows there's a two-tier justice system. In addition to the fact that Trump didn't mishandle classified data. He didn't have servers, and he didn't put them in some kind of garage. He had a Secret Service guarding them at all times, and he was complying. He had his attorneys speak with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the National Archives. He's allowed to negotiate through his attorneys. But this is Jim Jordan. Really, really interesting exchange with the special counsel. Oh my God.
Took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book. That's why he did. He knew the rules, but he broke them for $8 million in a book advance. But you know what? It wasn't just the money. Joe Biden, here's this page 231, very next page. Joe Biden, in your report, Joe Biden viewed his notebooks as an irreplaceable, contemporaneous record of the most important moments of his vice presidency. He'd written this all down for the book, for the $8 million. And the next thing you say in your report is, quote, such a record would buttress his legacy as a world leader. You know what this is? It wasn't just the money. It wasn't just $8 million. It was also his ego. Pride and money is why he knowingly violated the rules. The oldest motives in the book, pride and money. You agree with that, Mr. Herr? You wrote it in your report.
That language, and it does appear in the report, and we did identify evidence supporting those assessments.
You also had another interesting statement in your report. You said Joe Biden, I want to make sure I get this right, viewed himself as a man of presidential timber. Remember that statement, Mr. Herr?
I believe that does appear in the report, at least in the executive summary.
The only presidential timber associated with Biden would be timber!
I think this is interesting, because here's the scary part. Page 200. I said this earlier in my opening statement. Page 200, Joe Biden, this is a quote, Joe Biden risked serious damage to America's national security when he shared information with his ghostwriter. Shared it with his ghostwriter, the guy who was helping Joe Biden get $8 million. And oh, by the way, Mr. Herr, what did that ghostwriter do with the information Joe Biden shared with him on his laptop? What did he do after you were named special counsel?
Chairman, if you're referring to the audio recordings that Mr. Zwanitzer created of his conversations with
exactly
Mr. Biden,
what I'm referring to.
He slid, if I remember correctly, he slid those files into his recycle bin on his computer.
Tried to destroy the evidence, didn't he?
Correct.
The very guy who was helping Joe Biden get the $8 million, Joe Biden used the motive for Joe Biden to disclose classified information, to retain classified information, which he definitely knew was against the law. When you get named special counsel, what's that guy do? He destroys the evidence. That's the key takeaway in my mind. Can you explain what specifically in your interview with President Biden led you to this conclusion?
The conclusion
that
about
broad statement that's been cited many times.
The totality of the time that I spent with the president during his voluntary interview was something that I certainly considered in framing my assessment and articulating it in the report. And that includes not only the words in the cold record of the transcript of the interview, but also the experience of being there in the room with him and frankly considering how he would present to a jury in a criminal trial if charges were brought.
But I guess I'm asking specifically. I know you cited in the report the dates that he couldn't remember when he was vice president, when he began, when his term ended. You cite that in the report. Is there anything else specifically that stands out from that interview with the president?
I am very humbly asking if you could.
A number of things stand out. And again, I'm aware that the transcript has now been made available. I do provide certain examples in my report of significant, personally painful experiences about which the president was unable to recall certain information. I also took into account the president's overall demeanor in interacting with me during the 5+ hour voluntary interview. So it was a wealth of details about being there in the moment with the president, including his inability to recall certain things, And I'll also say, as reflected in the transcript, the fact that he was prompted on numerous occasions by the members of the White House counsel's office.
The brief look I had at the transcript this morning, because we just got it this morning, I saw some of that. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Texas, or excuse me, Pennsylvania. I'm used to you being down there. The gentlelady from Pennsylvania.
I got an upgrade.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hur. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Hur, for your service to our country, for your team's service in this investigation. You determined, after what you described as rigorous, detailed, and thorough analysis, that President Biden should not be prosecuted for mishandling classified documents. In fact, everybody can take a look at
And ladies and gentlemen, the special counsel determined that because they said that he would not present his case, or he would not be able to defend himself because of his cognitive abilities. It's the only reason. Not that he didn't commit crimes, which he did. It's that he could not have presented himself in a competent manner. And so that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. We're at a situation where you have Trump trying to imprison Trump for classified data, a classified data breach, when there wasn't a classified data breach. Okay? There wasn't a classified data breach. There was nothing of the sort with Trump. He was a president with the power to declassify. So I think what they were trying to do is go into 24 saying, look, Trump is, he's a real threat to national security because of his classified data issues. Like, well, this way you don't look at our actual breaking of the law when it comes to classified data. Servers and 5 or 6 different locations where classified data is at with Biden are infinitely worse than a president with the power to declassify. Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel. I will be back either tonight, definitely tomorrow. But hit subscribe, and thank you so very much. Want to do this segment. Today was very, very important. I don't think a lot of people really realize this, but if you look, the jury instructions today show very clearly that Trump is in the driver's seat, and Democrats are livid. We will get to the immunity case also, ladies and gentlemen, this month. This is going to be a huge, huge month in terms of the presidential immunity case. So, ladies and gentlemen, hit